Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein. Just waiting for the players to come onto the field. It's a lovely evening here, and let's just have a look at the Australian team before we go any further. And certainly a few changes in the side from Brisbane last weekend, notably a midfield where Daniel Herbert makes a much awaited return. Pat Howard goes back to second five, and in comes Scott Bowen at first five. The talking points in the forward pack: return of number 8 Tim Gavin, and the debut in the number 4 jersey of New South Wales John Wellborn. So there's a big crowd in attendance, and certainly they've been here a long time. And joining me in the commentary is Nick Farr-Jones. And Nick, it's a 5:15 start here, but some of these people have been here since midday.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a problem as we see John Eales leading out the Wallabies. Could be a bit of a problem if these boys get up here. There's a lot of people who've had a few drinks, Grant. And I tell you what, I've got my green hat, South African hat, just to escape here if these guys so happen, I would imagine, to pull off an upset. Certainly the opinion at the moment, as the team takes the field, John Eales the captain, the opinion around Bloemfontein, certainly from the South Africans, is that they're going to give us a bit of a touching up. But these guys played with great spirit against the New Zealanders last week. George Gregan there getting some encouragement from his captain. One would expect them to put up a mighty fight.
Francois Pienaar, yep, about to bring the box onto the park, and they'll get a marvellous ovation, I'm sure.
It's been a long time, apart from the World Cup, since South Africa have played here. Someone mentioned to me, with the exception of the pool matches of the World Cup, it's been 27 years since a major international. Be a huge reception from these rugby-loving people here at Bloemfontein.
Osteront behind him. Been a bit hard to get a line on who was playing in the Springbok side as Francois Pienaar brings his team on.
Johan Roux just coming out there. There's been a lot of speculation. Would it be Von der Westhuizen, of course, who played so well in the World Cup last year, or Johan Roux yet again.
So there is the South African side. As I say, it's been a bit difficult to get a final word on who's playing and who's not, but hopefully this is the lineup. Certainly no Joubert, no Honeyball, and no Herter. All three are injured and battling to get back in for next week. So James Smalls at fullback, Joel Stransky at first five, and Bali Swart plays in the front row, and the captain, of course, is Francois Pienaar. So there is Francois Pienaar, 28th time as captain of South Africa. He's never played in a test match when he hasn't been the captain. Mark Andrews in the side. There was some doubt about him too.
Australian team certainly fired up there.
Well, everybody's pretty pumped up, I think. South Africa, 2 weeks ago, losing, of course, to the All Blacks, and Australia as well. They've got a fair bit to prove, Nick.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. What was important to us when we won the World Cup in '91, that the following year we defended it. And we so happened to do that against Scotland, and then 3 tests against New Zealand, albeit we dropped the last one. But I think it's very crucial that South Africa showed tonight, and also against New Zealand in the 4 tests, that last year wasn't a flash in the pan, and certainly there's a lot of pressure from the local people and also their president, Dr. Late.
Joel Stransky, he's been somewhat out of form this season, but who'll never forget what happened at the World Cup last year. Henry Honeyball is not fit for this game, and Joel Stransky has kept his place in the side. He's probably the best goal kicker around.
Big occasion for John Wellborn, the Australian lock. I understand the first player to represent Australia from Western Australia.
So Brian Sterling of Ireland gets this game underway at the Free State Stadium, straight down to Campese, looking for Matthew Burke, and it's a bit of a wobbly kick downfield, taken by Johan Roux, who's coming back very strongly. Got it away to Ackerman, but it was slightly forward, and not a good start by Australia. Missing touch, Matthew Burke, but lost forward by the Springboks.
Yeah, both teams have to make sure that ball security is the most important thing, especially in this first 20 minutes. New Zealand against Australia in Brisbane suffered badly and quite uncharacteristically from losing plenty of balls in those tackled situations. There, the opening 30 seconds. Roux, great attacking position for South Africa, coughed the possession up.
George Gregan with the feed, held by Tim Gavin. Good to see him back in the Australian side today. Burke is waiting inside the 22, and that's a better kick, making sure of his touch on this occasion. And we come to the all-important first line-out.
Kicking will be very important in this game tonight. We, of course, hope that we see plenty of liberation of the ball kept in the hand, but at altitude and on this very hard ground, it's important that the kicking game is right from both teams. South Africa shortening again. We've seen them shorten to 4-man quite often during this Tri-Nation series.
Ackerman has gone to the back. Andrews is at 2. Oh, they missed everybody. Straight to Tim Gavin. Good solid charge by the number 8.
Great stuff, Gav, the big farmer, back in the Australian team. I'm sure extremely proud to be winning yet another cap. Great two-handed take, albeit unopposed at the back. He's put Australia, well, Matthew Burke here, I think, electing from long range to go for 3 points at altitude.
Yes, we're up in the high veld here in Bloemfontein, and there's the big charge from Tim Gavin. 46th test match. He's been around a long time, has Tim Gavin. And the South Africans got their hands in there.
You know, Tim will be a very important player, and I'm sure he's been picked because it's not easy. You come to South Africa, you're in a place like Bloemfontein, you haven't had a chance to acclimatise to the people and to the country, and have a hard head like Tim Gavin. Certainly the stabilising influence that he should be able to provide will be particularly important for the Wallabies.
Well, we saw Matthew Burke in outstanding form last weekend in Brisbane with those 20 points against the All Blacks. His goal kicking was wonderful, and this is certainly within his range.
And certainly the word I'm getting from France, along with John Eales, the 2 outstanding Australian players of this season.
It's a pretty good strike. Oh, it's over. What a good kick.
Absolutely magnificent start from Matthew Burke and Australia. It must have been all of nearly 60 metres. It was certainly 4 metres on the Australian side of halfway and off-centre. A great kick, hitting the upright or the crossbar and carrying over for a great start.
Best possible start to Australia. Campese calls for the fair catch this time.
99th test for that man. One off his 100th, which if he is selected, and one would assume he will be, for the end of season tour to Italy, Scotland, Ireland, and then the final game against the Barbarians. He'll win his 100th in Italy. Tremendous career.
Well, a bit of a misunderstanding here, yeah.
David, if you call a mark, you've got to kick it, mate.
Yes, exactly.
He might have played 99 tests, but just showing that maybe his knowledge of some of the rules slightly off.
Good try. The referee did say a free kick. Maybe that confused him a bit.
Surprisingly, a little bit of criticism coming from the Australian quarters during the week. Paul McLean, the chairman of selectors last year, saying Campese shouldn't win his 100th. They should pick a younger man for the tour. Hopefully Campo will prove him wrong today.
Lovely take by Johan Ackerman, the big man from Northern Transvaal. First opportunity for the Springboks to get physical in the game, and a penalty. This time it's the Australians using their hands. And here's Joel Stransky. Well, we expected the early penalties from Brian Sterling, and they're certainly coming.
Yeah, one would hope that it's not going to kill the game. It's good for a referee, I think, to have an impact early in the game and let the players know that he's not going to tolerate trying to stop the ball coming back in these breakdown situations. Timmy Gavin just getting his hand in there. But let's hope it's not too much stop-start. Certainly the ball was coming for Johan Rue. The chance for the equaliser for the Springboks.
He has had an unhappy season, Joel Stransky, after the highs of last year. Mind you, Western Province, where he comes from, have been played poorly in the Super 12. That's beautifully struck. That'll give him a lot of confidence, Joel Stransky, as Andre Markgraf looks on. And we're back to even Stevens. It's 3-all.
Good response from South Africa. His first 20 minutes will be crucial. And I think, Grant, the last 20 as well. I just have some fears that the Wallabies might struggle in that last 20 at altitude, having absorbed the intensity of last weekend's game against the All Blacks. Let's hope they keep their legs.
Split forward pack by the Australians once again. We saw that a lot last week. The Springboks will have watched the tapes, though. They did the same thing, taken in by Mark Andrews. And it's pretty vigorous in there, but they've turned it over.
Interesting tactics again from Australia, splitting the kick-off, 4 forwards on the left, 4 on the right. It's worked. They've got a good situation here. Will they play a back row with Timmy Gavin punching, trying to punch into the inside backs of South Africa? Will they put the high ball up? Will they try and play it with the back line? Interestingly for me, watching this Australian back line, certainly a lot deeper this year under the coaching of Greg Smith than one would see under the coaching of Bob Dwyer. They've gone back at least 3 or 4 metres in their alignment.
Scott Bowen, Pat Howard, Daniel Herbert, all excellent runners.
Free kick, George, play on.
Away he goes, quickly. Up to Michael Bryle. Inside the 22, Australia. Next man up is John Eales. Now, there it is for Bowen. Straight out for Herbert. They'll keep an eye on him, no doubt. Real danger man, Daniel Herbert, but they've got it away nicely, Australia. Now Bowen. Beautiful flick onto Wilson. Back to Burke. Springbok defence is solid, as you'd expect it to be, as Justin Swart takes it across the touchline.
Good continuity from Australia, recycling the possession quickly. If there's one thing these Springboks can do, it's defend, as though their life depends on it. There you saw green jerseys all over the Australians. Big Mark Andrews just suffering. He's in tremendous form. Great line out forward. The former water polo player. Great skills. Here we see Daniel Herbert taking it forward. Great defence, green jerseys everywhere. The quick recycle. George Gregan opted to go back on the left, but they ran out of space.
Was some discussion yesterday that Mark Andrews may not play. He had a stomach bug yesterday, but he's taken his place in the Springbok side.
And I think the New Zealanders from last year know what stomach bugs are about. Talk about the illness before the final certainly probably affected them, so interesting just to see how Andrews goes and the impact he has on the game.
He's got a marvellous association with John Allen. There it is. The two men from Natal. There's more than one referee out there at the moment. Everyone's having a say.
You know, there Andrews got two-handed ball. George Gregan calling to Scotty Bowen, wondering what the call is. Another good opportunity.
Here they go. Gregan running wide. Misunderstanding. Back there for Burke, but the referee was playing an advantage, Brian Sterling.
Well, it's obviously a move they've worked hard on. Paddy Howard was up very flat. He went for the dummy switch run. Howard playing at 12 inside centre today. But they're obviously looking still to punch in close on that first phase play. Certainly the Australians so far this year have been on first phase coming back, trying to set up the ball. Timmy Gavin there ready to break.
There's the educated boot of Johan Roux. What a magnificent kick that is. Admittedly, we're at altitude here and the ball does tend to go further, but that is a tremendous kick from inside his own 22.
That's a magical kick in the base of the scrum. Now the Australians tested. Big John Wellborn, as we mentioned, winning his first cap. Coming from Western Australia, played against New Zealand for Western Australia back in 1992, and then was encouraged by the Australian manager Peter Falk to continue his career in Sydney. Great catch there, and a penalty for Australia. Should be a relieving one.
Yes, that's a confidence booster for Wellborn. A lovely take in the line out.
Matty Burke kicking for touch, not David Campese.
Last remnants of the sun you can see on the top deck of the far stand there. It's coming up to 5:30 in the evening.
And Australia shortening to two-man. Ball quickly into wheels for the tap.
Gregan not able to get rid of it. Still coming on the Australian side though, if they get the feet moving. And Gregan punched away by Bowen. And well claimed by James Small.
I always thought you had to have a foot on the ground for the mark, but South Africa's played on quickly.
Yapi Mulder is number 13. Right in the middle of the 22. Now Roux back to Stransky with plenty of room and time.
Oh, geez, the crowd certainly has appreciated that small passage of play. A very good kick from Scotty Bowen. It arrived just as Daniel Herbert looked like he'd arrive. Herbert perhaps being interfered with. He ended up on the deck. South Africa again have come back on attack 40 metres from the Australian line. Big Michael Foley enjoying the absence of Phil Kearns. Certainly it might be tough for Kearns to win his way back into the Australian team. He's hoping to get on the tour at the end of the year.
Magnificent take by Eales. A dominant figure in the line out of Brisbane last Saturday. Now Gregan for Bowen. Good little surge by Pat Howard. He looks so much more comfortable at second 5/8. Gregan. Bowen's back in position, punching it down towards Justin Swart out on the right wing side. But for a right winger, he can boot all right with the left boot. Good play by Matthew Burke, gives himself a bit of extra time, and then it fires it off down the touchline. Oh, tremendous kick again. We're going to see some long-range kicks for touch here today, I can see that.
You know, he's in great form, Matthew Burke. Quite an amazing try he scored against New Zealand in Brisbane last weekend. One of the greats, I think, that will ever be scored against New Zealand when you look at an individual effort. We saw when Paddy Howard, and I'd agree with you, Grant, certainly more comfortable at inside centre there at first five, or second five as I think you call it. Michael Breyer was trailing through.
Good work by Ackerman this time. Australians, at least the South Africans, have got some good options in the lineouts. Ackerman, just his third test match.
I'd like to see a few more Australian forwards on that maul. Plenty standing off.
Johan Roux gets it rather slowly. Stransky pushed it a bit far by the looks of things. Burke. Now he's dangerous from these positions, remember. Now Campese. Now that was a little bit limp from David Campese. It really needed to land outside the 22.
No, there's no doubt. It wasn't a great option from Dave, or at least the execution of the kick wasn't good, and he realised it.
He's back after this one. Plenty of time this time to line up the touchline, and away goes the educated right boot. Game not opening up just as yet. 13 minutes gone, and it's 3-all. That's coming to exclusively live on Sky. from the Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein. Here's Ackerman. A bit of pushing going on there, and it's against Australia.
Big John Eales there, just questioning it. Here we see it again. Yeah, certainly the Australians coming across. John Wellborn straight across, then coming back to go up. If you're going to come across, you've all got to do it. You need 7 gold jerseys coming across, not just one. Certainly stands out, and here's Stransky opportunity to put the Springboks in front.
Word of welcome too to our friends at Star Television in Hong Kong. Hope you're enjoying the Test match too from Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein. 3-3 at the moment, and Joel Stransky attempting to put the Springboks in front. Boy, his timing's sweet today. A let-off though for the Australians. Picked up nicely by Eales, so they're back in control of it. Now David Wilson, just out from the 22.
Wilson's done well just to consolidate the possession. Slow it down, get the quality possession.
Time for Bowen. And although the kick sliced off his boot, it's safely into touch.
A great strike by Stransky, but yes, indeed, the Australians fortunate. Big John Eales, tremendous skills, taking the possession, and as ever, David Wilson in his pocket for the rip. Here we see it. It looked for all money as though it was going over. The ricochet. Eales quick to react.
Francois Pienaar, so another variation in the lineouts by the Springboks, but they've turned it over. So that might be the end of Pienaar as a lineout jumper.
They tried to have the quick rip off Pienaar and then feed one of the big Springboks running around, trying to punch into the inside backs of the Australians. A little clumsy on the rip. Ball was spilt and turned over. Gregan pushing the ball direct into touch. So the South Africans another good opportunity.
Pienaar goes high again, but that's against Ackerman. He was clearly across, shoving his opposite man out of the road.
Yeah, a bit strange. Not necessary on your throw-in, especially when it's going to number 5.
Untidy for Gregan. That's the halfway line. Australia need a halfback. Looks like John Eales might have to go in. No, they move it away. There's Tim Gavin just straightening up the point of attack, joined by Michael Bryle. Not too much progress to be made there. The Springbok defence is solid, but Gregan is back in position. Can't get it down though, and they'll concede it here. Penalty apiece in the game, and we've been going for 17 minutes. Johan Roux pushing it down towards Burke. He's tremendous in these situations. Look at that. Didn't have time to call for the fair catch. The Australians have rallied round him quickly though, and if this comes back it'll be very well executed. Campese has to get onto his left boot, but it's okay. He's got a very good kick away. Tremendous play really by the Australians.
You know, that was a great kick. Perfectly timed. The Springboks arrived. We see Just van der Westhuizen. He's taking in the game from the sideline. Rumours are that he might come on in the second half, irrespective of an injury. But yes, great composure from Burke yet again. Went high, knocked backwards, held onto the possession. It was recycled, and Campese with a strong left foot has put them down to the halfway line.
Andrew Heath has gone down. I suspect the real problem lies back at fullback. where Matthew Burke is struggling. I think Andrew Heath might have just been helping out a little there, and good on him.
Yeah, I think someone, perhaps John Eales, has called for the dive. Dr. John Best doesn't look too worried, but you're right, Grant. Burke getting some treatment at the back. Play wouldn't have been held up for that treatment. Greg Craig, the magician, back treating Burke. Well, Dr. John Best, as I said, doesn't look overly concerned, albeit we saw last week against New Zealand, Greg Craig had to treat him a number of times, Heath. Pressure in the scrum immense.
Well, he's okay. Meantime, Greg Craig has finished with Matthew Burke. He's all right too, so everybody restored to health, and we're set to go again. Springboks have been very good on their own throw so far. Taken in by Pinar after it was deflected by Andrews.
Australians need to commit more men to these mauls. Very dangerous. You see the Australians standing off. Brian Foley's just got in now.
Untidy for Roo. Justin Swart. Here's a big chance. Beautiful. Popped it up, and the try's given.
It is given, but I want to have a good look at this.
It looks forward to me.
You have to release simultaneously. I'm not whinging. A magnificent South African try, and the stadium's erupted, but we'll have a close look at this. Certainly brought down 2 metres from the line. New Zealand, we saw, to win the game against Australia. The ball was released from Cullen. Frank Bunce was there to pick it up. But was this ball delivered or released simultaneously to the tackle being made? Let's have a close look. Michael Bryle couldn't quite get there. A great run from the winger. Here we see Campese across. Made the crucial tackle. Passing off the deck.
And
I'll
forward
leave it up,
as well.
Maybe. I'll leave it up to the viewers. I don't want to come across as a whinging Australian. Great tackle, Campese. Good try.
Clearly forward too.
One would think.
So not too good on 2 counts there, but nevertheless the try given.
Came from nothing. The ball came back untidily in the maul. The quick ball from Roo to the winger Swart. Tremendous run.
Attempting his own conversion. Oh, that's a fantastic kick. Joel Stransky has all 10 points so far. The big break made by Justin Swart.
Have a look at this step. Yeah, magnificent swerve there. You see Bryle, Burke beaten, all ends up just slipping slightly on the hard ground. Campese, tremendous tackle. His defence has certainly improved. And there was Stransky on hand to go over. Tremendous start now for South Africa. As I said, I think this Wallabies could struggle in the last 20. They've got to hit back. The referee's got them from in front of the kicker. Things not going well for the Wallabies.
Well, it was balked to one side by Matthew Burke, and he went back the other way, and the players on the right just overran it slightly. John Eales leading the charge.
South African backs adopting a 3-3 setup, 3 on the right, albeit the fullback Small moving across to the right as well. Coming back to the left now.
Stransky's had a big impact on this game already. Well, it's a confidence game as rugby, and Joel Stransky's had it down all season, but just in the space of 20 minutes, I think it's all come rushing back.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think he likes pulling that green jersey back on. You see, when things go against you, despite the fact that Australia territorially in front, things starting to go against you. You make an elementary error at the kickoff, and all of a sudden, you're back on defence.
Michael Foley. Tremendous effort again by Eales. Has been an outstanding form this season for Australia, not only Australia but Queensland. Now Dan Crowley battles on a few metres. Slowly from Gregan, back for Burke. Justin Swart looked very dangerous on attack just a minute or so ago. He's got tremendous distance, but he's got to be careful here that it doesn't go dead on him. Gregan. George Gregan, born of course in Lusaka, which is in Zambia, I was about to say just up the road, Nick, but not quite just up the road, but certainly in the same continent.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got tremendous parents. I travelled with them last year during the World Cup. His mum, I think, being Zambian. His father, Anglo-Saxon, but wonderful people, great supporters. George is certainly doing his best to make that number 9 jersey his.
Gets a nice pass away to Bowen. Now Bryle got a good line-up here. Chipped through by Howard. James Small rather rushing that. Campese tips it up for Howard again. Tackle made by Ruben Kruger. Australia burrowing in, getting it nicely, Gregan. Oh, Bowen's knocked it forwards. Never quite had it under control.
Just in these, still the opening quarter, Scotty Bowen there. Surprised to get the ball back from Michael Bryle. They're just saying, don't give it up. You take it forward. That's what they've got to be doing, just trying to get over the gain line, forget the fancy stuff early on, take it forward over the gain line, recycle possession, keep continuity, and stretch the Springboks maybe in 3rd, 4th, 5th phase of play. Just a little shell shock, things not going well for them in the last 5.
Barley Swart back in the front of that South African scrum. They say he's not fit. Be interesting to see how he lasts the game. Here comes Burke again. Hendricks coming through on him. Oh, a big clash. Campese. Bryle getting in there. Well claimed there by James Small. Kick made this time by Johan Roux. Burke has recovered. Just standing outside the 22. And they're going to have to come all the way back.
That's tough for the Australian forwards having to run back. Line out, South African throw in. It's a great kick. The ball, Johnny Hills maybe just interfering a touch with Roux after the kick. But the kick, importantly, landing just outside the 22, which meant Burke couldn't kick into touch directly. And this is the consequences. Watch for the two-handed catch. The South Africans try and drive the ball in.
James Small just a little slow to get up after that last take. David Wilson gets it at the back. Good charge by Wilson, heading straight at Stransky. Now it's freed up. Wellborn is the first man up for Australia. Took it up strongly. Now they come back. Howard away for Bryle. Howard puts a very good fend on Johan Roux. He's strong in the tackle, is Pat Howard. Bowen. Not too many gaps in that Springbok defence just yet. The old rugby ball bouncing in funny directions for James Small, and it works out okay for Australia. He's not too well, is he?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. He's obviously copped a knock in the head when he went up for that high ball. It's a little cloudy, looking for some attention. Better play by the Australians as they go for the quick throw into Eales at the back. Jimmy Gavin collects the ball.
Well, it's all a bit untidy there. And South Africa have got it back. Stransky. Oh, he's having a cracking game.
Good play by Burke, throwing to himself.
Very quick thinking by Matthew Burke, and he's put it back near the 10-metre line.
Well, that's clever. He had plenty of time, but it takes a cool head to make those decisions spontaneously. Stransky there has had the ball on the string. Hasn't passed too many times. Kicked 7 of his 8 possessions.
It's real concern here about James Small.
Of course, taking the position of Andre Joubert. Pulled out for perhaps more important things, he might think, with the New Zealand 4 tests coming up. Small's doing a good job in his place. A little groggy. Peter Hendricks is coming to check on his health.
Give number 3. Come over. Give.
Greg Craig out there. My word, he's been around a while, Nick. 1985, I think he started.
Yeah, that's John Best, the doctor of the team, but Craig, he certainly has been around for a while, and I can tell you, magnificent man and a real magician.
Small is still on the field, so we're set to go again. 12 minutes remaining in the first half. 10-3. Yappy Mulder is number 13. Big burst. Finally dragged down by Wellborn. 10 out from the 22.
A great run by Mulder, but what they needed, South Africa, was to quickly recycle that possession. It didn't come. John Wellborn, perhaps deservedly getting a few souvenirs from the stadium here at Bloemfontein, stopping the ball coming back, but a great break, a great step. This is where they needed the quick possession, but they've got a scrum feed.
They'll set it again.
Pat Howard defending on the left. Mulder going to the right. Will they play a loop around him?
Untidy scrum again. And a bit slow coming back too. Teichmann hangs it up. Good solid defence by Australia around the fringes.
Dave Wilson pilfered, but the penalty's been given away. Tim Gavin there, inquiring. Referee indicating perhaps that the Australians didn't allow the ball to come back, but Wilson was on his feet when he pilfered that possession. Here we see the back row move, trying to drive it forward to set up a platform. Wilson there on his feet. Had the ruck been formed, well, the ball seemed to bounce up into his hands. But then the ruck definitely, the ball had to be released.
Might have been a tough call on David Wilson, but the way Joel Stransky's been kicking here shouldn't be a problem. Regulation penalty goal by Joel Stransky. He scored all 13 points for South Africa as they lead by 13-3.
A lot of colour here in the stadium at Bloemfontein. Plenty to shout about for those guys too. Australia have to strike back. There we see at the 31st minute. I think things will be progressively more difficult for the Australians in the second half. They'll be looking for a try. John Eales through onto the possession. Campese the defence.
Good pressure here by Australia. They've got it back too. Knocked forward by Green. So, well, it's been a new tactic. We saw it from them in Brisbane last week. Splitting the forwards. And it isolates, of course, half the opposition pack as well. So Gregan with the feed. Carry on, says the referee, and away goes Pienaar. Well, that was a late call.
Pienaar there, questioning the linesman, saying you saw it, it looked legitimate. Ball seemed to go straight through the scrum without really a strike. Fortunately for the Wallabies, they've got another feed. Let's see if we can control possession a bit better. A lot of pressure there on Dan Crowley. Straight tight head prop.
Osteront on this side for the Springboks. Tim Gavin is in the back of the scrum for Australia. Now Gregan away for Bowen. Howard, oh, a clean break. Pat Howard, where's the support? Just overrunning it was Matthew Burke. Well, you don't often see a clean break in Test rugby like that, and it caught everybody by surprise, including the Australians. They couldn't quite get there with their man, and the Springboks have survived.
Well, certainly very interesting from set phase. Perhaps the Springbok centres getting in each other's way, but here we see it just running on the angle, and straight nose between Stransky and number 12, Brendan Venter. Howard just hesitating, perhaps not giving the 50-50 ball would have been the better option, taking it to ground, going for the ruck ball. But a great break from Patrick Howard.
Well, Stransky and Venter looking at each other. Free jump for Eales at the back, cleared by Gregan. Out into the centres for Daniel Herbert.
Struggling to get over the gain line, the Wallabies. Setting up the maul.
Now they're going to take the Springboks on with a bit of brute force. Shunting it up a couple of metres. This is good. Now they've sucked a few in. Bowen. Back the other way for Justin Swart. Too big though.
The possession could have been better utilised. Not a bad option. Matthew Burke streaming down the left. The execution on the kick, not great. There we see the turnovers. Australia not bad in the retention count, but 4 crucial lost balls.
But hard to work out the Springbok calls. They're all in Afrikaans. So John Allen finds Ackerman. My word, he's a good player, is Johan Ackerman, the policeman from Pretoria. This hasn't gone very far at all. Foley gets it, away for Gregan. Whip it away to Bowen. Ben Tune. Good break here by Tune. He's a real danger man if he can get a go. Bowen now. Howard. Confident he can make a break. Gregan, good hands. Away for Campisi. The big goose step. Good pass and field to David Wilson. This is better stuff from the Australians. Gregan to Bowen. Bryle decides to straighten. Looked like a hit-eye tackle to me. Now Gregan, bustling. Herbert to Gavin. They'd really get back into the game here if they can score before half-time. Now Gregan. Bowen, big line-up. Howard. Campisi. Here goes Burke. Tremendous continuity from Australia, and
stop them for not releasing possession, holding on to it there. Matthew Burke, he said, but great play. Probably the best passage of play we've seen in the first half. Tremendous little flick inside from David Campisi to Matthew Burke. There, the Australians getting penalised 10 metres for obviously arguing. Bit of lip from that man, Andrew Heath. And I can understand it. They took it forward 6 and 7 phases. That man took it forward. Bryle charged ahead. The ball came back. They get within 10 metres of the line. And they're penalised as John Allen takes a breather. There we saw Matthew Burke, the big step off the left. Very dangerous. Tremendous tackle from Allen. The big man from South Africa, Piet Durant. Where's the support? Perhaps just a little slow. Burke getting penalised for not releasing.
Yeah, wonderful rugby by Australia.
Referee hasn't done a bad job though. We've seen some good passages of play. The ball's been flying. This must have been, I would guess, maybe the 7th or 8th phase of play for the Australians. As you can see, just the Australians a little distant. Burke surrounded by green jerseys.
Floodlights have taken full effect here at the Free State Stadium as Joel Stransky has put it out. 13 points to 3. And we've got 6 minutes remaining in the first half. The match coming to you exclusively live on Sky.
Timmy Gavin playing halfback there at the back. South Africa shortening to 4.
Off the top from Andrews. Stransky looking for Teichmann. He gave it away to Francois Pienaar. And they struggle to get it back. Now Ackerman has gone down.
Yeah, the ground's certainly hard out there. It's taking its effect. Lovely quick ball from the line out. Teichmann on the inside. There we see him feeding Pienaar. Pienaar driving forward into John Eales. Bryle on the side. They're unable to free the ball up.
Well, Ackerman, you can see, went down there. I think he might have tripped over one of the Australian players. And looks to be in a bit of strife. Hannes Strydom, who played in the World Cup last year and was a chance to play in this game. They thought Mark Andrews may not play.
But the injury count.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that before. 4 to the South Africans. They're ahead on all counts.
Ackerman is a real find for the Springboks. Played a wonderful game in Christchurch a couple of weeks ago, but I think he's struggling here. They might have to get the new man on the park. Hannes Stratum. Let's have a look. There's the blonde fellow. He starts to pull up a bit. Got his foot trapped under Tim Gavin, I think.
Yeah, looks like an ankle injury or a knee. Maybe some ligament damage there. Let's hope for his sake that the operation isn't required. South Africans breaking quickly.
Teichmann loves to run with the ball. He can do it pretty well too. Up to the 22, still going. Good run by Gary Teichmann.
Great charge.
Johan Roux up for James Small. Swarming defence by the Australians. Small did well though. Up for Pina. 5 metres out from the line. John Allen. Working it across towards centre field. Now Fenter. Fenter goes again. Howard has him. Frenzied attack by the Springboks.
Can they recycle it just this once more? No. But this is a fantastic position for the scrum. Johan Roux knows it. You cannot get a better position. 5 metres out, right in the middle. Options right across the paddock. Great play from South Africa. They just lifted a gear, and it was their ability to reproduce that possession at ruck ball that made it so dangerous for the Australians. Just charging forward as the Australians look for a breather.
In fact, one of the Springboks is down and looks to be out too, whoever it is.
Pienaar would be expressing to the team the importance just before half-time. Here we see a magnificent run from the big number 8 Teichmann. Bryle missed him. Look at the charge, holding his feet, going forward. Gets up again and goes. The Australians are getting back in desperate defence, but it allows the Springboks to take it forward yet again. Here we see Small taking it forward into his old mate Campese. And watch Pienaar take it up from here. Gets stopped in his tracks by Michael Bryle. Big hit. But the ball comes back importantly.
Now, who are we missing here? We might be missing number 3, Bali Swart. Marius Herta couldn't take his place in the game. And let's have a look. Yep, it is Big Bali. Hasn't had a lot of rugby.
Will they go for the pushover? That might be the first option, or it could be the quick break with Teichmann and Roux on the right. Plenty of options for Green.
They brought most of the backs to the left. Strunsky lurking on the right though.
It certainly looks like they're interested in the 8-man. The ball quickly in from Roux. The South Africans getting on the front foot.
Australian scrum holding well too.
Roux joining.
Front row has come up, so the referee's obliged to set a new scrum.
Wallabies have got to dig deep. It's tough at altitude.
Time up on the clock in the first half. The Springboks wouldn't want to set too many more scrums. They might run out of time here. They're going to go again.
Watch for the pushover. Watch for the penalty try, not given. Will Pienaar pack another one? He's questioning. He should go for the 3. On half-time, he should take the 3. He does.
Brendan Fenter came racing in to tell him, I think, that it was half-time pretty much. And another scrum might have meant the half-time break.
And here's support for the big man. They realised how deep he had to dig after being injured. This puts them 13 points clear at half-time. Big gap for the Springboks. It'll be hard for the Wallabies from here.
Joel Stransky has scored all the points for the Springboks, 16 of them. And there you can see it's the 43rd minute, but still Brian Sterling wants to carry on.
Bali Swart, yep, looks like he's coming off. No, he's not. Australians just splitting the kick again.
He's going to battle it out till half-time anyway. 16 points to 3, massive lead for the Springboks. It's coming for Australia. Now, can they conjure up a try before half-time and certainly get them back in the game?
And where's the clean out?
Running back to the heavy traffic, Bowen. Tasman again, showing that tremendous pace. Osderont.
Easy.
And that is half-time. And everybody rises to their feet as the players take a break as well. South Africa lead Australia at half-time by 16 points to 3. Welcome back to the Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein. There is the story at half-time, 16 points to 3, and all of those points for South Africa came from Joel Stransky. He's kicked 3 penalties and converted his own try, and for Australia, Matthew Burke has kicked the lone penalty. So 16 points to 3, and Nick Farr-Jones, a lot of talking for the Aussies to do at half-time.
Yeah, gee, I mean, it's going to be a tough job for these guys. As I said early in the game, I think that the Wallabies will struggle at altitude. The fact that they've only just sort of got up last night, the fact that they played that really tough game against New Zealand and a tremendous disappointment to them. But they've got to strike back early. If South Africa score the first points in this half, one would think the game will be all over. Let's hope that South Africa, looking to prepare for their matches against New Zealand, look to play a ball-in-hand game to really try and keep the pressure on, the continuity going. Certainly, I think the Australians, whilst playing for field position, definitely will have to keep ball in hand as well. That's the spoils, what they call the Dunhill, or the Winfield, Cup.
Darby Theron is on the field. We noticed just before the break, there he is, that Bali Swart was in trouble. Now this man is making his test debut for Griquas and West. So we've got 2 new players out there, with Hannes Stratum there too, as the second half gets underway. Beautifully claimed by Andrews. What an athlete he is. But George Gregan puts paid to that. We know he can do that too. Ask Richard Lowe.
Joe Roff on the field as well. Jersey number 18.
Yes, he's there too. So 1 or 2 replacements in both teams. Whoops. Not such a flash kick by Scott Bowen. Justin Swart. Finally brought it under control without knocking it on. Now Gregan. Running it out, Australia. They've got a chance here.
Big Joe Roff taking it forward.
Got to get it back though and make it pretty quickly. Now Bowen. Quickly shoveled. Away for Campese. 10-metre line, Springbok territory. Good start to the second half for Australia. Now the man missing.
Matthew Burke's the man missing. David Campese restarting the play with Burke off. Who will kick? Maybe John Eales.
Well, John Eales kicked for Queensland this season. Nick, you probably saw a few of the Super 12 games, and he was wonderful in that role.
Truly magnificent. Here we see Campese ducking back on the inside, but the defence was up to it. Don't the South Africans love that? Old Campo being banged to the ground. John Eales, definitely, he's got all the skills. Very gifted athlete. Kick for Australia, I think it was against Romania, the World Cup match at Stellenbosch, and quite an amazing performance. Put, I think, 4 kicks over from the sideline. So he can certainly do it. He's got the responsibility on his shoulders. Securing possession, captaining Australia. And now the crucial kicks early in the second half.
Not easy coming out of the engine room and to be able to poise and get some balance and kick for goal. And a few good goal kickers over the years have come from the forward pack in international rugby. Tony Nordier wasn't bad, the Springbok back in '65 in New Zealand. Beautifully struck. Oh, that's a magnificent kick. What a player he is, John Eales. And it's 16 points to 6.
I don't think the South Africans would have seen too much of that. They would have been saying, hang on, what's this big tall fella doing taking the kicks? But tremendous kick. It's kept them with a sniff.
Punched away by Stransky. Roff is out there. James Smaller waited back though. Campese's waiting back as well. Big solid defence by the Springboks as they came up. Johan Roos in after this. Somebody's holding it back.
Yeah, I think it was Campo. Certainly we could see the possession at the back. Small just giving Campo a bit of a pat on the head. Dave's got a bit of claret. Slowly to his feet. That was a brave take. John Eales was there to support. Watch how quickly the Springboks arrive. Plenty of Australian jerseys, but here they come in numbers and driving. David getting caught in a bad position. Small did well. The ball should have been released then.
So we go back to Stransky. Already 3 penalty goals and a conversion to his own try. Back to the 13-point margin, 19 points to 6, and we've had about 5 minutes in the second spell.
Australians this time electing to stack the forwards on the left. Campese having to do the restarts in the absence of Matthew Burke.
Not a bad kick either. Tune getting first man there. Taken though by Teichmann.
Plenty of green jerseys there. Tim Gavin, the only Aussie.
Down the blind side goes Rue with a kick. John Eales had waited back there. Held by Stransky. Now the Australians have to regroup quickly. Comes nicely for Gregan. Popped up for Howard. Chance for Campo on the right wing side. Nice little kick and chase. Referee plays an advantage. Teichmann. 10-metre line in Springbok territory.
Great covering from the number 8.
This is the way Johan Rue can play it. Pops it away downfield.
Rough signalling, it's gone dead, but it was only 12 inches in it. Back for the 22 restart. Campese calling. No, Pat Howard's got hold of the possession. Australians look tired, Grant.
Yeah, long way to go.
It's been a tough campaign.
Well, it's been a tough season all round, Nick, hasn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable to think we've got 4 consecutive tests coming up with New Zealand. These guys are certainly earning their dough.
All Blacks having the weekend off, and very happy about that too. They start their tour on Tuesday at Worcester, lovely little town about an hour out of Cape Town. That match coming to you live on Sky against the Boland Invitation side.
I'm sure they're particularly determined. John Hart will have them on a mission. Is it right that they've never won a tour in, or a full tour, or won a series in South Africa, Grant?
Yes, never done that. And it's one mission that New Zealand Rugby has been on for many, many years. Lovely take by Andrews. Up for Rue. Stransky to Fenter. All sorts of moves coming here. Yappy Mulder. 5 out from the 22. Springbok starting to play with real confidence here. Now Pienaar to Fenter. Teichmann. Back in field to Pienaar. Played it on the ground.
Yeah, it was a great charge. There, I think, perhaps going over the ball. Not 100% sure of that ruling, but it was tremendous play. They went on the short. Pienaar gave the ball. Venter. It came to Teichmann. He came back inside. The ball then went to Pienaar. Charged forward. Kept the momentum going. They should have been able to free up possession. They shouldn't have worried about the possession, just driven the gold wall backwards. Ruse screaming, but the penalty came for the Wallabies.
Just had a wee little play on the ground, I think, Francois Pienaar, but hasn't he come back to form? There's been a lot of criticism about his play in the last few months.
He certainly had his nose on the ball tonight.
Good take by John Wellborn. First test match for him. the former Western Australian representative. Cleared by Gregan. Michael Bryle hasn't been quite as prominent today as we saw in Brisbane last weekend. Bit slow coming back, and in fact they couldn't get it to ground. Ryan Sterling having a chat there with George Gregan. Unfortunately, the referee's microphone has deserted us, and obviously deserted you at home as well. So we have to assume that Gregan was trying to referee the game as well.
He's been known to do that, mind you. It's a fairly typical character trait of scrum halves. I can speak from example.
Yes. Michael Foley all bandaged up. Don't tell me it's the other arm. That one, left arm, doesn't look too flash. But he can be an inspirational captain, this fellow.
Oh, there's no doubt. Together with Kitch Christie, they were right at the heart of the campaign last year that culminated in their success in the World Cup.
I've never seen that before, Nick, as you say, the old injury count coming up on the screen.
Yeah.
I think we had most things in rugby covered in terms of statistics. Well, there's another one.
Perhaps it gives someone else a job.
Held by Teichmann.
That's a strong scrum from the Springboks. Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Wallabies, I think, as this second half goes further. These guys are used to playing at altitude. This is the last of the Tri-Nation games for the Australians. Got to hang in there.
Rue for Stransky. Groff's got a lot of running to do here.
Yeah, on a string. They realise the importance of playing for territory, putting the Australians under pressure, trying to pick up one of these Australian line-out throws.
Real mist coming in over the ground here. May not be too obvious to you at home.
So, yeah, what I wouldn't have been surprised if we got a bit of snow last night. -2, I think it was.
Goodness gracious. Now let's see what the call is here. There's a lot of gesticulating from the referee, and in the end it's South African ball.
I think they may have got them for an accidental offside. Someone in front of the ball carriers, they tried to drive it forward. Watch for Teichmann breaking from the back of the South African scrum.
Stransky, Fenter. Here's Peter Hendricks. Away for Justin Swart.
Well, the New Zealanders will be having a good look at some of these moves, bringing in the extra man. That time, Pieter Hendricks from the left wing. A couple of dummy runners. Hendricks, though, perhaps needed to straighten the ball. Running across field became easy pickings for the Wallabies. There's pressure on that front row of Australia. South Africans saying the ball had to go in from Gregan. Gregan saying, I want a steady scrum before I introduce the ball.
Darby Theron is the new man on this side of the scrum against Dan Crowley. Charged. Offside though. "19 points for Joel Stransky so far, as Campo bangs it away down the touchline. 99th Test match. It was Joel Stransky getting up rather too quickly on his opposite, Scott Bowen. Now John Allen. A lot of talk about the Springboks playing Henry Tromp in this game, but John Allen has retained his position. Well, discipline was a big problem for the Springboks when they played the All Blacks in Christchurch 2 weeks ago. So far tonight, or this afternoon, whatever way you want to look at it, they've kept their discipline better.
There's no doubt it would have been a talking point during the week.
Bryle, he's the strong man running it up for Australia. They're inside the 22.
It's better, the ball coming quicker.
Bowen saw a little gap, back for Gregan. Dan Crowley gets out there quickly. Taken down by Straydon. Roth almost got his way through. Wilson in good support.
Desperation cover from the Springboks. Australians going forward, their feed.
Another injury here, just down bottom right of screen. Well, they've got a few injury problems anyway, the Springboks. They won't want to lose too many more players with 4 test matches against the All Blacks coming up. Durant.
We saw Joe Roth going through. Sorry, it was David Wilson. The ball knocked down by South Africa. Small recovering, but a great opportunity here. Australia has to strike back. 5 points.
19-6 behind. Away goes Gregan. Back for Roth. Good surge by him. Now they've got to get players there quickly in numbers. Managing to get there.
Referee playing advantage, but none coming, so the penalty came. Hands in the ruck from South Africa. Looking to play the advantage, though, that the ball just didn't come back. Interesting moves from the Australians. Gregan running laterally from the base of the scrum. I think it was Daniel Herbert that he reversed to. Certainly putting a lot of pressure on the South Africans, and here Eels should take the mandatory 3.
Still 25 minutes left to go in the game. John Eales, still only 26 years of age. It seems as though he's been around for a long, long time. Bangs another one through, and so it's a 10-point ball game now. 19 points to 9. And 24 minutes left in the game.
How deep can they dig, the Wallabies? They experienced the bitter disappointment of being in control, or seemingly in control of the match against New Zealand last week. To have it snatched in the final minute. Can they now reverse the score on South Africa?
Capizzi trying to get something going from inside the 22. Gregan away for Bryle. He'll run all day at them. Good surge by Bryle. Support from David Wilson. This is better stuff from Australia. They're all getting there quickly. Just having trouble clearing it here. Now Gregan away for Bowen. No, in fact it's Howard. He's run strongly today too. Now this is Bowen shifting it quickly. Good chance here for Roth. Tunes coming inside. They've run this from out from the 22, remember. Good clean out by the Australians. They took a few box out that time. Springboks a bit slow getting back, some of them. Shoveled on. Gavin got out there. Knocked it on though. Breakout. Hendricks. Game really starting to open up. Pienaar. Durant. Good pace. And a big tackle too. 8 metres on the Australian side of halfway. Everybody needs a breather.
Absolutely. Johan Roux on his knees, indicating that they should go for the 3, but great play from both teams. 6 and 7 phases of play to get the Wallabies into the Springboks 22. Then the loss of possession from Gavin and the breakout from the Springboks. There's some tied men. And you saw Pienaar.
What about the pace from Durant?
And watch the tackle again from Gregan. Classic. The clean out came. They'll go for the 3. Tough attempt. Well, there's some tired boys out there.
There's Durant from Free State. He's a local hero. He's only 23 years of age. Good turn of pace for a big man. Big return to form for Joel Stransky. He's been under real pressure from Henry Hannibal, and one would imagine prior to this game, if Hannibal had been fit, he would have played. Beautifully struck.
That tells the story. Fantastic kick. For mine, let's hope it's not the nail in the coffin. But it would have been a tough one for the Wallabies.
It's got a ring about it, that score. 22 points to 9. That's where the All Blacks came back from, Nick, so don't lose hope.
Yeah, and it's about this time that you guys started to come back to. 21 to go.
Well, a huge roar as Jes van der Westhuizen comes on. Johan Rua's gone. Just walked off the field completely unaided. So I think we've got the interchange rule in rugby now too. Didn't look to be anything wrong with him at all. We did hear he's coming off at half-time, but he's lasted a bit longer than that. Scott Bowen. Australians coming through quickly, but James Small is resolute under the high ball. So Jes van der Westhuizen loves to run with the ball. James Small looking very much at home at fullback. That's the position he started his rugby at. Down to Michael Bryle. You'll pick someone up and have a go at him. Boom. Teichmann makes the tackle. Ball freed quickly. Now Bowen. Away for Howard. He's not scared to have a run, but a good tackle by Pienaar. Wilson slipped over, but he got up again. No holds barred here. Now there's problems out wide. Pat Howard's gone down too. So the pace of the game starting to take toll.
You know, it certainly is. It's tough out there. Paddy Howard stepping off his right foot straight into a green jersey. And there was no give. Straight forwards there, sucking it in. Trying to raise some more energy. There we see him off the right foot. Not a lot of give in the Pienaar tackle. Driving him backwards.
Bit of criticism, Nick, about the South African loose forwards, but led by Francois Pienaar tonight, they've been quite outstanding.
You know, there's a good balance, and I must say, from the Springbok team. Just looking at the Super 12s and now the Tri-Nation Series, the man who's really stood out in that forward pack for me has been the number 8 Teichmann. Great runner, great in cover. And that man, van der Westhuizen, will be trying to win a jersey back for the upcoming tests against New Zealand. Disappointing, no doubt, against the Australians in Sydney. Perhaps programming into his game a little too much kicking, and his options weren't good, but he's now got a quarter of the game to prove that he's the man who should run on in the number 9 jersey.
Off the back goes Tim Gavin. Held up again by Pienaar. 22 points to 9, the Springboks lead. Now John Eales. Teichmann makes the tackle on him. Bryle. Good gutsy play here from the Australians. Straight ahead goes, I think it was Michael Foley. Now Gregan. Tune. Swarming defence by the Springboks. Coming slowly for van der Westhuizen. Gets it now.
Penalty. No advantage. Great defence from South Africa. Australia throwing everything at them. The Springboks defence, especially out wide in the backs, up to whatever the Wallabies can deliver. There we see the hand from John Eales. Referee waiting to play advantage, none coming.
Well, they are really a fine defensive side. We saw that in Christchurch. The All Blacks couldn't score a try. In fact, it's been over 3 games since the All Blacks scored a try against South Africa. They pride themselves on their defence.
They've got a big spirit.
17 minutes remaining. The match coming to you exclusively live on Sky. The Springboks leading by 22 points to 9. Now Eales. Trying his heart out, John Eales. Wellborn takes it on. Gregan to Bowen. Got numbers here. Roth looking for Tune. Kruger makes the tackle from behind.
Bryle's gone in. with a stomp, and he's been called out. An aggressive play. He'll say he was trying to free up the ball, but this linesman might say something different.
Well, he got into trouble last week, Michael Bryle. He took to Frank Bunce. And he's in a bit of trouble here with Brian Sterling as well.
Looks like a pretty good warning too. One more time, son, and it's the early shower.
The Springbok is still on the ground. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, no, the problem being, you see Bryle on the side, number 6. If you're driving forward, we in Australia and New Zealand would say the rucking's legitimate, but you see Bryle just standing upright, and the boot certainly is in front of the body. That's what you call stomping, not rucking. He's done well in place of Joubert. Some people say that he's not up to the fullback job, but he hasn't done too much wrong tonight. There's the turnovers, too many from Australia. They've certainly retained plenty, and that's given them good continuity. But the defence from the men in green has been up to it.
Davy Theron there, Hannah Stratham. 2 players who didn't start the game. Lovely take by Stratham. Now Van der Westhuizen. Venter. The big South African forwards getting around the park very quickly tonight. And another one. This time the use of the hands.
David Wilson's the man I think he's got. Yeah, it's just really inexcusable in those positions. John Eales has got to be firm, as no doubt will Greg Smith. And that ill discipline, you're much better surrendering the possession and then defending against the next phase of play rather than stupidly putting your hands into rucks and giving away what almost surely will be another 3 points, and one imagines the game.
So that's 6 penalty goals now for Joel Stransky. He's got all the points, all 25. And time to go, 14 minutes. Well, from the All Blacks' point of view, this Springbok performance looks pretty ominous. Campese straight down the middle. Ruben Kruger. The man from Northern Transvaal. Not a flashy player, but he's solid enough. But the Australians did well this time, and in a prime position to launch an attack.
And a very good hit from Daniel Herbert that time. He followed through Campese's stray kick-off. Came through on Kruger, dropped him straight away. And he's, because of that tackle, it's put Australia on attack with a great opportunity from this scrum. They have to strike now, the Wallabies. Right in the middle. Plenty of options. The backs just tossing up. What are the better options from here? Paddy Howard directly behind. They're in 2 lines. One to the right, one to the left. One senses they might all go to the right.
It's a very unusual formation. I'd like the opportunity for you to have a look at this. There are 2 lines behind the scrum. They're still there. Now, here we go. They came left. Well, it looked for a moment as though it was going to open up. Joe Roth just slipped a little low. Referee plays an advantage.
Now, Van der Westhuizen did very well to cut that off. It did look dangerous as initially the Australians went right and then came back left. Eales indicating that he'll go for the 3 points. 12 minutes left. If he's successful, the gap will become 13 again. Very
calm decision made by John Eales. Could have been rushed into tapping that and going again.
That's certainly what the Springboks did in Sydney, when Pienaar opted on a number of occasions in that second half to go for the quick tap. It could have cost his team.
Eales, about 35 metres out. Another good kick by John Eales.
Well, that's great play. He's racing back to get into position. He knows how crucial it is that they now secure the possession, get back into the South African half. Just over 10 minutes remaining. Still 13 points.
Big call.
Stransky kicks out. Australia will probably try and run this out. Campese.
Tim Gavin taking it forward. The possession's got to come back. Joe Roth.
Good surge by Roth. Now John Wellborn, the new man. Might have gone a bit high here. Can they get it down to the ground? That's the question. No, I don't think so.
John Eales asking the question, but the referee clearly indicating they couldn't fight it to the ground. They couldn't wrestle it down. Now South Africa with a good opportunity, a nice short side, 30 metres. They're stacking on the left, one man on the right. Here comes the loop.
Mulder, Van der Westhuizen, dangerous runner. Handed up to Andrews. Eales makes the tackle on him. Thereon is number 18. In fact, it was Van der Westhuizen. Now Kruger, 22-metre line, Australian territory.
They're all lined up on the left, the Springboks. Can they free it up?
Bit reluctant to free it. Van der Westhuizen. Knocked on.
I think he's got an accidental offside. The Springbok forwards, the ball carrier, charging into one of his own players who was in front of him. As it's accidental, no penalty, just the scrum feed for the Australians.
9 minutes remaining.
Decision's got to be made soon by John Eales and the men who get first use of possession for the Australians, that they've got to run it, and that's what they're doing.
Tune. Clever little kick. Now the bounce. Got away from them. James Small. And a good charge on him too by George Gregan.
For a small man, Gregan has got plenty of strength. Going great in defence tonight. The service has been good, but perhaps the ball hasn't come back quickly enough to allow him to snipe round rucks. Eales goes back. Two-handed ball and he's off.
Beautiful take. He's on his own. No, he's got Brew. Oh, that's hit high. Now Bryle. Bryle. Frees it up. Australia with a chance. Daniel Herbert. Close to the line and almost there. It's there for Gregan. The Boks are there too.
This is advantage being played.
Good hands. Shoveling it on. Here they come. They must score. Ben Chun. Round behind the post he goes, and Australia still in it. Ben Chun gets his second test try.
That's a great try from Australia. They've got time to win this now. This will be 7 points. Eales has got the simple conversion. They'll come within 6 points. Gregan frees the ball up. This was advantage play. Teichmann definitely offside. Campo took it forward, got the ball back. They realised there was space out wide. South Africa had been stretched to the limits, and Tune cleverly, realising that the 7 points was crucial, came round and dotted it down under the sticks. We're in for a great finish, Grant.
Yeah, another one.
Plenty of time on the clock. 7 as we look. plus injury time, and there's been some of that.
Back to 6 points. 25 points to 19. The crowd is stunned. 19-year-old Ben Tune. Let's have another look at it. They had numbers out wide as long as they could get it out, and they sure as did get it out. Joe Roth.
Yeah, Briar the link man. Gregan did particularly well. Teichmann got offside, but Gregan went over the top. It's a great try. Very brave performance from the Australians. I thought they'd tire, but they're hitting back hard.
Right, here they go again. Spinning it wide. Gap starting to open up. Away goes Roth. Past Kruger he goes. Now they've got a chance. Howard looking for Tune.
Hang on to it, Pat.
Tune's done well to hang on. Now where is it? Couldn't get it down.
Foley there arguing with the ref. Certainly appeared it might have been a ruck. Paddy Howard did well to hang on to the possession. Maybe the little kick was on. He had men outside him but couldn't quite get it to him. They're clutching his hip.
Well, I tell you what, Nick, the altitude seems to be affecting the box more. They're the ones that are starting to tire by the looks of things.
Yeah, certainly I would agree with that. That was great counter-attack from the Australians from that restart. Campese, the quick ball to Roth. Roth set off downfield. That man there came in support. Australians there in the huddle, just encouraging one another. The last match for them in this Tri-Nations for 96. Wouldn't this be a Houdini performance? The great escape, just as the All Blacks delivered last week. They've got time. The Springboks, one would imagine, will thump it downfield. Stransky in behind the scrum.
Danger of that, of course, is conceding possession now. Australia producing a big scrum.
Yeah, they've driven them backwards.
Under Westhuizen. Australia will try and run this back, no doubt. Roth. Away into the wide open spaces. Campese. Good support there from Daniel Herbert. Campo still has it. Back to Herbert. Players coming from everywhere. Roth. Herbert again. And the Australians claiming that the South Africans took it across the touchline, and I think they're right too. Justin Swart.
Oh, good play by the Australians. Realising the space was out on the right. Interchange of passing between Campese and Herbert. They're really having a go.
Important throw. Looked like an early tackle on Eales. The referee has let play go anyway. There's an important decision. Everybody holds their breath and waits to see which way the arm goes.
Yeah, the crowd's not happy with that one. Nice short side there for George Gregan to play. Joe Roth moving across, playing at fullback, moving across to the right. And there goes Bowen on the right too.
They came left. Oh, straight into the arms of Fenter. Now Pino. Fun to Westhuizen. Pops it up. Durant to Small. And he throws it over the touchline.
Oh, it's exciting play this. The Wallabies opting to go on the left. I feel for Pat Howard. It was Pat Howard's kick down the middle of the field that eventually brought the All Black try that brought them back into the match. And this time, unfortunately for Howard, the kick going straight into the hands of a green jersey. Gregan there getting some attention. Oh, it's been non-stop second half. Plenty of movement. Very exciting. Gregan there. Blood to the nose. He certainly played well in his last three tests, Gregan.
Been a wonderful test match, this one. South Africa looked home at half-time, 16-3. They got it out to 22 points to 9. It's now 25 to 19. Clock showing 2 minutes. Might be slightly longer than that, though. Australia had possession. That's the important thing. Howard. Brilliant run by Pat Howard. Now they've got a chance. Dan Crowley.
Great support from the forwards.
Setting it again for Gregan. To Bowen. Howard who sparked it. Now Roth. Campese gets a chance out wide. Pops it back in field to Eels. South Africans at 6s and 7s. Here they come again. Lovely interchange of passes. Not making a lot of progress, but here they go now. Brian.
There's space for Campo.
Gets away from Stransky. Finds Eels. Almost to the 22, and they played it on the ground. Goodness me.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Great, courageous play by the Australians. They know they're still in this game. They're just throwing it round. Tremendous support play. Springboks get a blow. John Eales, tremendous game. Not only as a captain, but just all over the field tonight. He's led his players by example. Great stuff there, just asking the question. He knows that could be a very crucial decision. Courageous performance from these guys. But they've still got a sniff.
There'll be a few more minutes yet.
It's turned into one of the great test matches, Grant.
It has.
Looks like early in the second half it was running away. South Africa could have, one would have imagined, been big winners, but the Wallabies have bounced back. The game is still in the balance. No time left on the clock, but one would assume there'd be 3 or 4 minutes of injury time.
Well, the first half ran to the 44th minute. Let's see what happens here. Joel Stransky, oh, there's a mistake. It's not out. So here they come again. Campese looking to step. Hasn't knocked it on. They can carry on. Good hands again. Freeing up Ben Tune. Only Ford's getting back there. Big John Allen. Oh, they stretched the Springboks. They really are stretched.
John Eales quickly calling for the ball. They know they can't muck around now. They've got to get this possession into play. More critically, though, they've got to make sure they win this possession. They could roll it in from here. Tremendous hands by the Wallaby backs. Hands out to receive, straight across the body.
They've got the ball in the line out. Wellborn. Now Gregan. Bowen. Howard's been a real danger man. Gregan. Little knock on.
And the crowd knows how important that stoppage in play and the feed for South Africa is going to be. As we said, we're in the second minute of injury time. South Africa will look to clear. They'll have to find their touch.
But of course they won't get the throw into the next line out. If there is another one, that's important too. Andre Margraf looks concerned. So he should be.
Well, they're certainly unforgiving. Springbok spectators.
Stransky. Now all eyes turn to the referee. A little blow on the whistle, not a big one.
Australians have shortened to 3. Eales has done a great job at the back there. Get it in.
Great take by Eales. Oh, but he gave it away to Stransky. Now Australia's going to run this back somehow.
There's green jerseys right across the paddock though.
Rough. Oh, good. Well taken. Here's Tune. Now they can set it again.
Now quickly, play on George. Get hold of that possession.
He's going to do just that. Takes it. Away they go again. Eales. Another outstanding game from him. Might have been Wellborn that time with Eales at his shoulder. Now Gregan. Still some lovely moves being put together. Gregan again. Foley. And they did lose it forward, I think. Yes, they did. And that's it. The Boks win it. And boy, are they pleased to hear the final whistle. Courageous performance by the Australians. But the Springboks get home in the end in one of the best test matches you'll see.
Yeah, it certainly was a pleasure to be a part of this game at Bloemfontein. One of the great games. As we said, it looked like the South Africans may have run away with it early in the second half, but the Australians hung in there. And even at altitude, after a difficult preparation, they came back And there's certainly plenty of relieved spectators, and I'm sure that man too is relieved that they've bounced back after 2 losses. Paddy Howard there, Joel Stransky, who played very well, Mornay Duplessis, the manager for the Springboks. It's been one of the great games, and I'm sure the crowd will be very satisfied. Tremendous match here at Bloemfontein. John Eales skippered the team brilliantly, kicked well, great game across the paddock.
Let's go back and have a look. There are only 2 tries scored in the game. Now this has got to be a doubtful one. It's a long time ago, I know, but a big run made by Justin Swart. He goes to ground, firstly appears to pass it off the ground when he's held in the tackle, and then just work out for yourself whether he passes it forward.
You've got to release there, has to release now. Certainly can't pass it off the ground. You probably won't hear too much about that in the South African papers, but there might be a line or 2 back home in Australia. But a great run from that man, Swart. Campese's tackling, his defence has improved, but there was the support from Stransky, the man who contributed all the points tonight for South Africa. Great step, Burke beaten. The tackle, the pass off the deck, and perhaps forward.
And now let's go and have a look at the Australian try. This is late in the game, and this is just the end of it after a frenetic build-up, and the try scored by Ben Tune.
Yeah, it came from many phases of play from Australia. It's not easy to score tries against the Springbok team, as New Zealand have found out in their last 3 games. Great play, great vision from Gregan, realised that they were stretched out wide, the Springboks. Got the ball over the offside Teichmann. Bryle realising it was on out wide. The final pass from Roth. And young Tune going across for his 2nd test try. They were right back in it there. There were about 7 minutes to go. The Springboks had to defend desperately in the final stages. Campese, realising he couldn't die with the ball, delivered the ball. Bryle quickly, Roth, quick hands. And I was impressed with the Australian hands tonight. The backs, just simple, straight across the body, running straight. They created many overlap situations, and that was the best one.
So those were the only tries scored in the game. We're going to have another look at it here. And they all have the same result, with Ben Tune scoring the try for Australia. It was 16 points to 3 at half-time, when South Africa looked home, really, at that stage. And they stretched it out to 22 points to 9. But then Australia finished very, very strongly indeed. Included amongst them was that try scored there by Ben Tune. And South Africa finished up, winning the match here at Bloemfontein tonight by 25 points to 19.